Okay, second time is a charm. Here we are again, connecting live here at InnovX BCR Talks, powered by Microsoft, live on Facebook. Today we have as our guest Liviu Muntenu, partner at Founders Bridge. Welcome, Liviu.
Hi, salute everyone. Thanks for having me over. I was just mentioning that this was the last office I actually visited before the lockdown. And upon driving here, I realized this is the first business meeting in person that I'm having after the lockdown. So there must be something here.
Yes, of course, we are here again, leaving our living rooms from our homes where we stayed in the last, I don't know, Diana, where?
Forever?
Forever,
No,
in the last 2 months?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think 2 months.
The last 2
It was a little bit over.
Yeah.
It seemed way over 2 months.
Way over 2 months. A little bit change, maybe we get some then on the balconies. I don't know about if we are fit as we used to be, but we are back to business, and thank you very much, Liviu, for coming today here. Thank you, Diana. We also have here, keeping the social distancing from us also, Anka. She will say hello to you, and she's looking on the Facebook.
Hey.
For any questions that you have for Liviu, she will be the one who will put the questions to Liviu, so feel free to ask him everything. And we'll start today, Liviu. We would like to know more about Founders Bridge. So Founders Bridge, it's an investment fund, it's an early stage fund, a VC. What is it, Founders Bridge?
It's actually an investor syndicate. We're 5 colleagues behind this, each of us investor and serial entrepreneur with over a decade of experience. We have decided to invest together under this mantra, the Founders Bridge logo, which is actually a natural step in our career. There's 5 of us. It's called Founders Bridge because we used to be founders, and now we're bridging a gap between a more elaborate startup environment, Stockholm, namely the Nordics, and an emerging one, this one here in Bucharest. Half of us are Romanian, half of us are Swedish. I'm the only one based here. Then there's also my colleague Adrian, who's Romanian but based in Stockholm. And then there's David, there's Daniel, and there's Stefan, serial entrepreneurs with a lot of experience from the Nordics. I think we're the newest fund announced in Romania. Yeah. We're barely starting. We have just announced our second investment. We're working on our third. We will announce it soon. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to talking about the verticals that we think are doing great in Romania. I don't like to talk about the COVID crisis, but so unless you as a company are active in, I don't know, the health sector, then you should talk about COVID. But other than that, your efforts are probably marginal. So do it, but don't brag about it. But I cannot not talk about COVID, because not talking about COVID is not acknowledging the effort that the healthcare workers are doing. They're really heroes, and not acknowledging the real problems that a lot of people have, losing their jobs and so on. So I want to clarify that the name of our theme tonight, verticals that are thriving, everything is against a black background, right? So we're talking about, islands, sunspots in a storm that the COVID-19 is.
Okay, so today is not about the masks that we all get started to use them, and we have to use them also here. As I said earlier, we use them until now. Now we are live, we just put it down, but we have the 2 meters between us.
Yes.
Of course, we are still.
Thanks for measuring that, making sure that
we comply with the legislation and everything, and we take care of our guests, also for the other guests to know. You said that you are the earliest fund in Romania. When did you start, more exactly?
Well, the idea started in November 2019, when Adrian and I met, and coincidentally we found out about each other that we want to be angels, business angel investors. And that was a spark that said, okay, we have to do this together, and let's co-opt our closest partners that are also interested in this. So we started in November, but we actually had everything set up and started sourcing, so looking for founders and for teams, late December. We had a very good 2 months at the start, then the COVID-19 situation started, but I need to point this out. There's an upside of this because nowadays everyone has time to talk. So all the founders are available for meetings, discussions. Yeah. Everyone has a lot of time on their hands.
Liviu, tell me, how large is the budget for 2020?
We, upon deciding on what we are going to do, our first step was to set up a plan for 2020. We have set aside €1 million to invest in 8, maybe 10 deals in 2020. I must point out that this is our money, so we put it together, and that means we have a lot of skin in the game. We're very motivated to make the best of the investments and help as much as we can for the startups to really explode.
Okay, so you started, you settled this fund, so starting with December, yeah, and
2019.
Yeah, 2019. So
yeah, so for this year, we set aside this amount of money, and as I said, we already implemented two deals, and we are.
Was this before, after?
One of them was right before that, and the other one was
before the scene.
Before the situation.
Yeah.
And the second one was actually right in the middle of it. It was an amazing deal. It was one of the verticals that are actually thriving right now, and it was too good to be true at first sight, but it was real. We really did some due diligence, and we decided to invest, and that was a very good thing. And I strongly believe in the success of this second deal. And the third one is taking shape right now upon the reopening of the economy. And I'm happy to see traffic again. I'm happy. I'm happy that things are picking up. It's a good time to be here right now.
Yeah. How market do you target for 2020?
When we planned, we wanted to invest in 8 to 10, best case scenario 12 deals. That will probably not going to happen because of the situation that we went through right now. So it's going to be a smaller scale. We are not restricted geographically. We are looking mainly in Romania. Mainly in Romania, but also we have a lot of talks with startups in Sweden. That's a different situation in Sweden. There's a lot of money around, a lot of VC, so that the environment is way more developed than here. But we have a lot of talks there as well. We're not restricted in Romania. Our focus should be CE, so Eastern Europe. But funny enough, our second investment is a company that is based in Delaware in the States.
Oh. Also, you have a company in accelerator from Brussels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be that our third deal is based in Brussels.
In startups cohort, yeah.
Okay, so you started, you have 1 million, until now you have 3 deals closed. Yeah.
2 deals are closed, and the third one is ongoing.
You have to announce it. We still keep the.
It's too early.
It's too early.
It's still too early. Yeah.
We look forward to see what's looking. And you had from Romania. This was the main target. But you also have from Delaware. What's the link between Romania and Delaware? So
one of the founders of our second investment is Romanian. He lives abroad, but we had super good chemistry, and he has a super good team. I think the 2 co-founders are the best people that could possibly start to do that particular startup.
We can say that you are open to opportunities. You don't stick only to.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. We heard a lot of pitches from outside Romania.
Also, flexibility that you get when you are your partner in the fund and you put your own money.
Yeah, flexibility is one side of it, but responsibility is the other one. So again, we have a lot of skin in the game, so to say. That means we are very, very, very cautious when we filter out startups.
Okay, tell me, because we are still in the situation and linked to the situation, how does a pitch look like, or an interview with a startup? So how should a startup prepare when talking to you? How should they contact you? And how it works during these months, and how do you expect to be in the next couple of weeks, months? We still don't know.
Hopefully weeks, yes.
Weeks.
Hopefully we're not going to
Hopefully.
go back to lockdown. That's a very good question. And funny enough, you are right. Things changed. And before the situation, we would be very proactive and do a lot of research and reach out to people and talk and meet and make a lot of collaboration with different entities to search for the perfect deals. Right now, because of the lockdown, a lot of founders actually reach out to us via our website even, or LinkedIn, and they just want to talk. But you're right, the process of pitching has changed a lot, and that has actually shifted the burden, part of the burden of deciding and doing some diligence to the VCs. I feel that because before it was like you could go meet the people, you could go visit their office, see all their team and have individual talks with everyone. You could visit the clients, right? You could have gather a lot of information yourself. Right now, you have to do that by looking at documents or having Zoom meetings with the individual people. That changed a bit, but again, as I said before, everyone has time to talk nowadays. So there's always an upside.
Okay, so you don't think it's riskier, you just change somehow the procedure, the way that you do
we adapted. We didn't simplify, we didn't cut our processes, we were not exposed to more risk. It's just that it's more difficult to check all the boxes that we wanted to check. That's it. The boxes are the same, but the way we make sure one box is checked, it comes with more burdens than before.
Talking about the bridge, you said that it's a bridge between you and the founders, so the link between you and your expertise. But you also mentioned earlier, before starting the interview, that's also a bridge between Romania and some more developed markets, mainly Sweden or the Nordic states. Can you tell me a little bit more how this bridge is affecting the process, the development, the services that you offer to the startups? And also let's see about the value proposition that you offer through Founders Bridge.
Well, the bridge is actually a big part of our value proposition now that you mention it. My colleague Adrian came up with a name. It's his idea.
Very good.
We're bridging a gap. We are a bridge between, as I said before, an emerging startup environment and a more established one. What we are telling the founders that we see, well, depending on the startups that they have, because not everything is scalable and not everything can explode on a global level. But for those models that can be replicated in Silicon Valley, where every founder dreams that he will be one day, he or she will be one day, we take them down a notch and say, you have a brilliant idea. Probably about 1,000 people have had this idea before you and started it. Okay, you think Romania is too small, you might be right. You want to go big and go in Silicon Valley and explode there. The chances are that if you go there directly without proving your model and without increasing and fine-tuning everything, you will meet those 1,000 people who have been there longer, who are more finances there, better network there. The outcome, chances are that the outcome would be not so bright on your side. So let's go to the Nordics first. Let's take this environment, not only Sweden, because there are 4, maybe 5 countries if you count in Iceland. Let's go there. It's definitely another level from Eastern Europe. Let's validate your model there. Let's expose your model to another market, to a bigger market, established market with people who are digitally savvy, and let's do a stepping stone there, and then you will step to Silicon Valley and have your dream come true and become a billionaire by disrupting the whole world.
Okay, I already, so I just noted the following terms: scalability, digital, yes, uh, Romania, Eastern Europe, Nordic countries, Silicon Valley. So it seems like you have a pattern that for the development of the startups that you choose to invest in, you know, you choose and you would like them to develop organically and try to have step by step, which for me it seems like a very good strategy and very realistic. And of course aiming for Silicon Valley, but Silicon Valley is very tough. It's very, of course, everyone dreams to be there, but
it's easy to start there. It's difficult to finish there.
okay.
Or the other way around. It's easier to be finished there.
Okay, so I like really very much this path that you bring. How large is the Nordic market? When you told me about the Nordic market, you told me that there are very good, a lot of similarities between them. There's homogeneous markets. Do you think it's a good and large enough market for testing the idea? Maybe Romania is too small, of course. Eastern Europe, so North for you, you think this is the place to be to test and to go further. Do you have any examples of success story when you thought about this strategy?
Oh yeah, Stockholm is full of success stories.
Yeah.
It's difficult to hire people in Stockholm because they all want to work for Spotify, for whoever disrupted whatever industry. You have to tell them a story because otherwise they will not follow you. Well, the Nordics, starting from Sweden, which is a country of around 10 million people, you have Finland with 5 and the other 3 countries adding up to roughly a big enough market. But the thing there is that they are digitally savvy, they are already a digitalized society. Sweden is a cashless society. You cannot have, you can't use cash there. There are restaurants where you see at the entrance, we only take credit cards. That's a market where they're all like-minded. There are, of course, small differences between them, but you can apply the same ideas, especially in the digitalized world and in the tech environment. You can apply roughly the same ideas and expect to have the same success in most of these countries, and I've seen that happening. I also have one accounting business in Sweden, and we scale up very quickly in the other regions, just by following our clients who already had businesses in the whole Nordics. So I have a lot of examples for that. And I'm sure you have heard of so many beautiful stories, success stories, unicorns that have emerged from
Angry Birds, huh?
Angry Birds, King, King. I count Nokia among them as well, but it was 30 years ago. Spotify, Skype, there's a long list. So I tend to think of Stockholm, for instance, as the next Berlin or the next Amsterdam. Yeah, not probably London yet, but going there.
Tell us about the verticals your target.
First of all, we're not restricted, so we don't target just 1 or 2 verticals, but our approach is based on considering each vertical independently. We started this way. We just made a list of the verticals that we thought were thriving in Romania, and we analyzed all the startups there, also the market, chose 1 or 2 finalists, and decide if we are investing or not in that vertical.
You are not focused on.
No. We're not a specific vertical. We're not a niche fund. And we really could identify some verticals that have managed to stay relevant and also thrive in this time. Obviously, the medical tech is one of them. Although I must say I'm disappointed to see that some startups that we thought were going to explode didn't match up. I mean, this was their moment, and we didn't see that spark that made them explode. This was definitely the moment for some of them, and not a lot of them managed to catch up on that and realize that. But there's definitely a lot of growth there, especially in the deep tech in medical fields, so not only the strictly medical stuff. Um, our third investment is going to be in that direction, but I can't mention it yet.
Yeah.
Also,
No
the
problem.
expectations are high now on the medtech sector. So
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
the COVID-19 situation created a lot of buzz.
Yeah, yeah.
I
We
don't
can
think
say
that's the
yes.
buzz.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of
Yeah.
buzz.
A lot of buzz, a lot of compassion, a lot of interest from people. We read a lot of news from medical outlets. I mean, before that it was only politics. Now it's only everyone is an expert epidemiologist or virologist, and yeah, we have learned a lot, which creates a lot of buzz and of clout in this industry. And the startups, some of the startups that we talk to are well aware of that, and they are really pushing to show good results.
Yeah, especially when you say about the Nordic countries, which countries are you talking about?
Well, mainly Sweden,
Okay.
also Finland, Norway, Denmark, and also Iceland. That's a Nordic
Okay.
country, although it's an island far away, but it's still the same mindset.
Okay. Yeah, the north of Europe is actually quite has a very developed entrepreneurial ecosystem. You also have the growth market. I think Nasdaq North for startups in the region, which is very active. For them, maybe you are looking for and exiting with your startups to list them.
Yeah, step by step.
Step by step.
At some point, one of the steps was going to be that. What you're saying is right. I mentioned that they're like-minded, but I think their strength also resides in how different they are. For instance, there are a lot of opportunities because they're not the same. You have one state which is member of the European Union but is not member of the Eurozone. You have one state which is member of the European and of the Eurozone. You have one state which is not a member of the European Union but is a special partner, and so on. For instance, Sweden has the sweet spot in terms of financial industry. For instance, they're a member of the European Union but they don't have the euro. So their national bank doesn't have their hands tied when it comes to currency politics. So they can play around with a kronor, with a SEK, with a Swedish crown. And it's a good place to be a bank right now in Stockholm. It is a very good place to be a bank there. Yeah.
So because we talk about Nasdaq, okay, but are there any other bridges with US, or why this path to go from, let's say, Eastern Europe, North,
It depends.
and then US? Okay, we have the layers of development of the markets, the growth and everything. Do you have any other thing that connect you with the US market?
Well, bearing that our second investment was in the US market, yes, and the partnerships that we have in Romania and the collaboration that we have with other VC funds and also with co-working spaces and so on, so that we can source a lot of startups and deals. We have started to establish in there as well. That's one of our priorities for the phase 2 of our evolution, because we're obviously looking to make sure that a much bigger round, Series A maybe, and so on, happens to the investments that we have already made. So when we invest in something, we always think about how can we help them with a bigger round. Can we connect them to that and that VC fund who's active in the States, as you say, or who has a larger ticket size, or who can bring expertise in their field and so on. So yeah, that is a very important thing in our investment strategy. Can we take this startup to the next 2 levels, not only this round? Because this round we can cover, we can bring our knowledge, we can mentor them, we can train them, we can connect them to our networks, we can take them to the Nordics if that may be the case. But we're also looking to the next 2 steps and see, can we help at the next step? Because that will raise their valuation and also increase our success rate.
Talking about follow-up investments, did things changes during the last year? So, and I'm also talking about UK, which is one of the most developed financial center here. now because of the Brexit, I don't know if it was on your path of development to search some more developed investment funds to invest in your portfolio. Is it Europe, a destination, maybe other countries in Europe, other funds from Europe, or US? What if you observed any change, and what happened during these last years, and also the political changes that affect now with all this nationalism, and maybe, you know, we've seen that there are some funds that don't go and invest in whole Europe. They try to keep to their countries, and so on. With UK now being a little bit like an outsider, what changed?
Well, we haven't been around that long, but I can tell you that it's what you mentioned here, the political changes and, you know, politics changing, you know, looking inside, and this country first and that country first. That is actually a problem of risk management. So when it comes to a VC fund and their investment strategy or policy, it's all about mitigating the risk, and that's probably why some funds narrow down their search in a specific geographical area, so as to avoid political risks like Brexit, or to some industries, because, you know, changing in politics also might favor one or other economic sectors, and that's why funds will probably look in a narrower economic domain or geographical area, as you said. Brexit is the perfect example for that, but I think Brexit has been around for 4 years now, so I think everyone has learned their lesson and their strategies are fine-tuned already. We actually almost invested in a startup based in Edinburgh.
Oh,
yeah.
When was that?
Our history is just 6 months, so 3 months ago. Yeah, yeah, early March we were almost there, investing in a startup based in Edinburgh.
So again, you are very opportunistic if you think that there is a
the founders were Romanian, so this is how we found them. But it was a stellar team, very nice. I really liked them, but it was not the right timing, I think.
Yeah.
And this brings me to another vertical that is thriving right now,
good.
depending on the situation. I would mention deep tech here, because deep tech, okay, they can be influenced by, you know, economic downturn, but most of these guys are actually looking at 1.5 to 3 years of intense product development and building the algorithms and coding. So most of them are in a state of hibernation. Let's get the money to keep us running for 18 months and, you know, just go to our bedroom and code, right? And the COVID-19 situation is all about that. so if you get the right deep tech company at the right development stage in their life, it might be the perfect sweet spot to invest. And this was the case, but we didn't invest in the end.
Can you tell me about a little bit more about the ticket? So how much do you invest in first phase in a startup? This year, for example, we have the 1 million budget. How many startups do we expect to invest in?
When we set aside the budget for 2020 and the number of deals, we obviously consequentially thought about ticket size. And our policy was we do not go under 50K, and we go up to 150K, maybe to 100 if the situation requires that. And our first investment was actually at the maximum span for our ticket size, and it was a very good decision. I agree. The second one was at the minimum, but it was a very no. It was actually a bridge round. This brings me to another structural opportunity. There is a new opportunity for funds, especially for young ones as ours. A lot of startups who are looking to get funded now are actually postponing that decision. They say it's not the right time. Everyone is, hibernating. Let's not lose our valuation. Let's wait until fall or next year or whatever. But they need some bridge money to run until then. And there are a lot of opportunities to to get to very good startups with small ticket sizes to bridge this gap between another gap to bridge to bridge this gap between now and the round that will follow, and that is a very wise decision on their behalf. But that brings a good opportunity for us, and this was our second investment. It was like this. It was very powerful startup, very good product, good valuation, everything. They needed some money now in order to wait it out until they can raise their proper valuation, and it was a very good deal.
What are you looking for in a startup? So
Well,
you told us about the verticals,
Mhm,
about the
mhm.
technology, about the scalability. I would like to tell me a little bit more about maybe, I don't know, drive teams.
Teams, I
Mhm.
think it's
Well,
it's very
we're
important.
obviously looking for the most important
Yeah.
things, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
teams,
yeah,
which is
teams.
paramount for us, better than the
Mhm.
idea
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, exactly.
Really? So do you think
Yeah.
that it's a team is better?
Yeah, an idea is not unique, an idea is not defensible, an idea is it can be improved and pivoted in many ways, but a team cannot.
Okay.
So I would say that I would put the team higher in the priority list than the idea, because it's all about the implementation.
Yeah, exactly. Implementation. is
Unless
very
unless you
important.
come out with a genius idea like Google,
Mhm.
it's about the implementation and make it fast and make it good before the others do. Yeah, definitely. Apart from that, from the obvious things that most VC funds do, we're looking at the chemistry not only with the team, but with the other partners in the round, because we're very comfortable in co-investing, not leading the round, for instance. So that would bring us at the same table with another VC fund. So we're not only looking at the team, but also the co-investor. We need to have the same vision about this particular startup, and also have personal chemistry, because at at many different times in the future, we'll be at the same table and decide in a board in a management board about the future of that startup. So we're not only looking at the startup, but also the co-investors, and we're also looking, as I mentioned before, at how we can help them at the next round, because that is very important for our financial result and also for their growth. So it is very important for us to have not an exit strategy, because we always follow through, so we're not diluting ourselves. That's our policy. It is very important for us to have a clear path for the next round. That means also setting aside some money, and also bringing bigger players to the table, because we want obviously to get to the next level. And so these are the two things that I would mention. So chemistry with the co-investors, and also watching out for the next two steps, planning ahead.
Yeah, it's
Not
very
only-
important
yeah.
steps.
I think that's crucial, because we're here for the long term. We want to be there at the next round as well.
What means long term?
Good question. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Long term is long term, but in the startup, bearing in mind the speed, we're also in the industry of tech. Long term would mean probably 3-5 years
Okay.
in this
It's long
particular
term.
field. Usually, long term is 10 years in investments, but
Yeah,
in these things,
investment.
so at least 2 other rounds, something like that.
Okay, that's good.
That would be long term for us.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Tell me about the idea. When you said that the idea, until now, do you had any any problems with the patents of the idea, with commercializing it in other countries than Romania or something like this? How do you deal with the IPR problems, the intellectual property wise? Do you encourage the startups to go and patent them at European level, internationally, or how do you deal? This is also a question about legislation. How
Exactly.
easy or hard it is for you to work with Romanian startups with money
Well-
from Sweden and invest in US? How do you deal with all this
That's a
legislation differences?
very good question. It definitely applies to us. Well, as we all know, the European Union is a very good thing and also sometimes a bad thing. And this is a good example when it comes to IP rights. It is okay that you have a framework at the European level, but it's also more difficult to patent your stuff at the European level.
Yeah.
So maybe the States would be a good alternative.
Okay.
This is our. This is how we would advise our
Maybe
co-founders.
faster in the,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first way.
I mean, it does help you have all these countries covered at once, but it is a difficult step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So we
So
we have
yes.
reached the limit of 30 minutes
yes,
of
but
our
was
talks.
a good
Actually, we can
discussion.
go on and on because it's very
Mhm.
nice and
Yeah,
very
it's,
thank you.
easy
Thank
to
you,
have
Liviu.
a discussion with you. Liviu.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
You're very
Enjoyed.
warm and welcoming hosts, and really I appreciate it. I appreciate being the first one after the lockdown.
Yes, and we have to thank Anka Luca, who's here with us, and she might say hello to you guys just a little bit there from behind the scene. Hello, still still keeping the social distancing between
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So you can have the chance to meet Liviu to the other events that hopefully we'll have in person in the next weeks.
Mhm.
We'll still have
The
to
next week.
in the next weeks. We have to see
Okay.
weeks. It might be 10, 12, 20, 100 weeks. We don't know. Okay, we'll see in person or online. So you'll have the chance to meet him
Awesome.
and to talk with him. We'll have the next events on 4th of June, maybe selection, and then on
Mhm.
18th of June
Yeah.
we'll announce the InnovX Open Day, the InnovX BCR Open Day powered by Microsoft, where we'll have the teams from the accelerator pitching and fighting for the big prize. Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you
Thank
very much, Anka. Thank you very much.
Keep
All of
safe,
us.
everyone.
Yeah,
eh?
Keep
keep
safe.
It's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Go
Stay
to bed
safe
and
and
cook.
innovate.
Yeah.
Good one. Good one. Go.
Okay, bye. See
Bye.
you.
See you.